Now, turning to the US and Columbia University, which has become the epicenter of so much of the anti-Israel, anti-Semitic sentiment that we've seen in purportedly progressive institutions. On October 7 of this year, Jewish students, faculty and their supporters held a memorial which was, of course, no shocks here, met with anti-Israel protesters. Now, one professor, Shai Davidai, fed up with the lack of protection for Jewish students and faculty, started filming videos of university employees, all of which are still up on his social media. For this, Professor Davidai has now been suspended from campus for what a university spokesperson has called repeatedly harassing and intimidating school employees. Well, you can now hear his side of the story because I'm very pleased to say that he joins me now. Professor Shai, why, in your view, and let's get straight into this, are you not allowed on campus?
So we're really jumping right into this. So, for the past year, I've been fighting the administration at Columbia against this wave of anti-Semitism and support for terrorism on campus. On October 7th, the Jewish students at Columbia organized a beautiful memorial for those that lost their lives in that horrible massacre last year. And there was a counter-protest. We were counter-protested by students and faculty holding signs saying, "Long live the Al-Aqsa flag," which was the name that Hamas gave to that horrible massacre. Which is fine, I hated it. I think it's horrible. The university has lost its moral compass, but it's freedom of speech. The moment they started marching around campus, leaving the designated area where they were allowed to protest our memorial service, was the moment that I said, this is not fine. They are trying to intimidate us, to tell us that we are not wanted, and we may not be wanted, but we deserve to be here. So I just ceded my ground. I stood in the middle of the path as they all engulfed me, all these students and faculty that were calling in support of Hamas and Hezbollah. And I videotaped the officials in the university because my fight is not against these protesters. My fight is against the administration that is allowing hate to take root on campus. I posted those videos, those interactions of me calling out their inaction. More than 2 million people saw it, and the university decided to retaliate. So because I exposed the moral rot of the administrators at Columbia University, they decided that they don't want me on campus, because if you're not there, you cannot expose the moral rot.
It absolutely beggars belief, but as you say, it is unsurprising, which is a horrific reaction to have. Are you the only person that you know of that has been sanctioned or punished by the university? Because we've seen a lot of pretty horrendous acts there.
To the best of my knowledge, I am the only faculty or staff that has paid a personal price since October 7, 2023. We've had the Dean of Columbia College caught texting anti-Semitic tropes during a panel about anti-Semitism about a Jewish speaker, and that person is still the Dean of Columbia College and has absolute power over Jewish and students, faculty, and staff. And yet I am the one that's being sanctioned. Now, the way I see it is Columbia has a big problem and a small problem. The big problem is the open support for anti-Jewish, anti-Israel, and anti-American terrorism. The small problem is the professor that's standing up and saying, hey, there's a big problem there. Because Columbia is unwilling to solve their big problem, they are focusing on the small problem, which is me.
Well, you may be a smaller problem to them, but you are making big waves, aren't you? Well done to you for standing up for what is right. It's not easy to do it all. Do you want to actually go back to your job at Columbia?
That's a great question. So here's where things become so extremely interesting and somewhat Kafkaesque. My lawyers asked the university, you are saying that our client harassed and intimidated employees. Tell us, who did he harass and how did he harass? Because all the videos are online for everyone to see. I am the most transparent activist that has ever been in this fight. You can go and judge it for yourself. It's been a week and we haven't gotten a response yet. So Columbia is the accuser, the judge, and the executioner, and there is no due process. but my story is a very small story here. You know, I always say, like, if I have to pay the personal price, but the big problem is solved, I am willing to pay that price, because the story is not about me. The story is about the moral demise of Columbia University and many universities in North America, and as I see as well in Canada and the UK, across the Western world. And what I tell people, and this is the message I want to get, non-Jewish people, non-Israeli people, I want you to take a look, just one look, at the protests and the riots that these Hamas, Hezbollah supporters are throwing in city streets, in universities, outside synagogues, outside city halls. And I want you to look at the peaceful rallies and demonstrations that the Jews and our non-Jewish allies hold, and you decide for yourself, which world do you want to live in? Do you want to live in the world that openly hates democracy and openly supports the rapists? Or do you want to live in the world that celebrates democracy and always stands with the victim? To me, it's a very simple choice.
To me as well, Shai, and I've made this observation many, many times before. When I look at the Israelis, the Jewish people and their supporters, when they gather, all they want is the return of the hostages. Bring them home is what they chant. When the other side gather together, there are calls for intifada, a repeat of the violence, more death and destruction. You know, to me, it is so clear and simple to determine which side is good and which side is bad. There's no blurry line here at all. Please keep us in the loop with what happens next and stay strong.
Thank you so much, Erin.